Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Maseches Megillah Daf Yud. We are holding out the Mishnah, Testament base, 3 lines from the bottom. It says the Mishnah, Ein means Shiloi Yerushalayim. There isn't much difference between when the Mishkan was built in the town of Shiloi, and it was actually there for a long time, 369 years. Then it was Charev, and eventually we had the Beis HaMikdash built in Yerushalayim. There isn't much difference between the Kedusha of the Mishkan when it was in Shiloi versus the Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim. Both were suitable Mekaymas for Akrabas Karbanos, for Chilas Kachim. What then? Ella only as follows. Shebeshiloi Eichlan Kachim Kalim U'Maser Sheni B'Chol HaRoya. U'B'Yerushalayim Lifnim Minakloim. We would eat Kachim Kalim, the lower ranking Karbanos, B'chor, Maser, Shlamim. So when the Beis HaMikdash was in Yerushalayim, we would eat these Karbanos all throughout the city. Lifnim Minachayim, within the walls of the city. Shiloi had no walls. So where was the Mokem Achilas Kachim when the Mishkan was in Shiloi? Shebeshiloi Eichlan Kachim Kalim U'Maser Sheni B'Chol HaRoya. You can eat it in any Mokem from which you can see the Mishkan, from which you can have eye contact with the Mishkan. Rashi says, B'chol Mokem Sheyuchal Lireis Misham Es Shiloi. You don't have to actually look at the Mishkan while you're eating. It's close enough within the range of a vision. That's a connection. That's an association with the Mishkan Shiloi, and it is comparable to within the city of Yerushalayim when the Mikdash was in Yerushalayim. V'kan, either way, whether it's Shiloi or Yerushalayim, kachim necholin lifnim minaklayim. When it comes to the higher grade karbanis, such as achatas and asham, kachim, these will only be eaten lifnim minaklayim inside the curtains. So in the Mishkan, it was within the curtains, within the areas of the Chatzar. And in Yerushalayim, there was no curtains. It's just a term of reference. It just means within the walls of the Azara, which corresponded to the curtains at the Mishkan. So Kachim Kalim can be eaten within the area, close enough to the Mishkan or the Beis HaMikdash, within the city, or in the case of the Mishkan, within the range of vision, within that area that you can have actually eye contact with the Mishkan. Kachim needs to be in the Azara, in the Klaim, the curtains of the Mishkan, within the walls of the Azara, when we're speaking about the Beis HaMikdash. One more difference between Shiloi and Yerushalayim. Kedusha Shiloi yesh acharei heter. The Mishkan Shiloi, after it was destroyed, you're allowed to bring your karbanos in your own private mizbeach. It was a time of heter habamis. Kedusha Shiloi is not permanent. It was a temporary kedusha. But once it was taken away, Charva Shiloi, says Rashi, Hutru habamis. You can go back to your old mizbeach, your personal bama in your backyard. As opposed to Kedushas Yerushalayim, Ein Achrei Heter. Kedusha applied to the Mikdash. That's eternal. That's permanent. Even after the Churban, you may not go back to your own private bama. So 2 differences. Number 1 regarding the mokem for eating kachim kalim. By Shiloi it was B'chol HaRoya. By Yerushalayim Lifnim Minachayim. Number 2, after the Churban of Shiloi, you can go back to your private mizbeach. It was a zman of heter abamis. It was only a temporary kedusha, which expired upon Churban, whereas Kedushas Yerushalayim is eternal. Ein achrei heter. You can't go back to your bamis. You're still restricted. You're committed to the Mikdash, which will be rebuilt from Meher B'Yameinu. Rabbi Yitzchak Shemati, I heard from my Rabboisai, from my Rabbeim, Shemakrivim Beis Chanya Bizman Hazeh. Nowadays, after the Churban of Yerushalayim, there's no Mikdash. You can choose to bring your karbanos in a place called Beis Chanya. Rashi says it was Mizbeach that Chanya, who was one of the children of Shimon HaTzadik, wanted to escape. He ran for his life, and he went and established himself in Mitzrayim, and he built a Mizbeach L'Shem Shemayim. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, I heard from my Rabbeim, it's perfectly legal. You could be makar a carbon bezman hazeh and Beis Chanya. Why? Because number 1 he holds Beis Chanya lava Beis Avodah Zarah. It was never intended for Avodah Zarah. It was l'shem shamayim. Therefore, there's no concern, there's no isser in bringing a korban at the mizbeach of Beis Chanyai. Number one. What about the fact you may not bring a korban in your own bama? Oh, that's when the Mikdash is around. But nowadays, v'kasavar, he holds kedusha rishona, that initial kedusha of Yerushalayim and the Mikdash, which was activated by David and Shlomo, kitcha l'shanta. That was a temporary kedusha. V'lo kitcha l'asad lavi. It doesn't have permanence. It's not for all time. As long as the Mikdash was around, there was kedusha there. But nowadays, kedusha expired, and therefore you're no longer restricted in terms of being makriv karbanis. You can bring them wherever you want, even Beis Chanyai. How do we know that the kedusha expires? The chesiv kilei basem ata ad ata el hamnucha v'lanachla. Pasuk says you're not meant to. You could use your bama nowadays. Go use your private mizbech. You haven't yet arrived. El hamanucha, to that resting place. V'lanachla, your inheritance. The Gemara darshans, menucha zu shiloi. Menucha is a resting place for the Shechina, referring to that temporary Mishkan Shiloi. So when the Mishkan was there, you were committed to the Mishkan. You can't use your own bum. Nachla to Yerushalayim. You haven't yet arrived at your final Nachla, your final destination, your final resting place, Yerushalayim. When there was a Mishkan, when there was a Mikdash, you can't use your private bama. You're committed to the Makom HaMikdash. But after the Churban, you can do what you want. In fact, Makish, Nachla, Lemenucha. That's why the Pasuk connects Nachla, referring to the temporary resting place of Mishkan Shiloi, to the Menucha, the permanent resting place of Yerushalayim. We're connected too. Ma Menucha Yesh Achrei Heter, just as Menucha of Mishkan Shiloi has Heter, after destruction, after the Churban of the Mishkan, you can go back to your Bama. You're no longer committed to the Mishkan Shiloi. Af Nachla, likewise Yerushalayim, although it's called Nachla, it has more permanence, but nevertheless, Yesh Achrei Heter. After Churban, you can go back to Heter Abamas. This is a Chiddush that was presented by Rabbi Yitzchak. Shamati, I heard that nowadays, we can use our own private Bama. Kedushas HaMikdash has expired upon Churban. Amrulay, B'nai Yeshiva asked Rabbi Yitzchak, Amrus, did you really say this? Are you for real, really? Amrulay, he says, no, I never said it. I wouldn't allow being makar recover nowadays outside Yerushalayim. Amr Rava responded, Halekim, name of Hashem, Lashon Shvu. Amr, he certainly said it. V'gamin lamina. In fact, I myself, gamin lamina, I learned it from him. He taught it to me. Asks the Gemara, my time if so, why did he go back on his word? Misham Kashid Rav Mari, because Rav Mari had a strong kasha on this halach. The Moisev Rav Mari asked from our Mishnah, which says Kedushas Shiloi Yesh Achrei Heter. After Churban Shiloi, you can use the bama, but Kedushas Yerushalayim Ein Achrei Heter. Kedushas Yerushalayim is permanent for all time, even after Churban. You're still committed to it. You can't go back to your bama. So that's one Mishnah. V'oitanan, we have another Mishnah that proves the same thing. Mishnah Zvachem. Mishibol Yerushalayim. Once Klal Yisrael arrived to Yerushalayim in the Esra Abamis, going forward, you can't use your private mizbeach. V'lo haya lahem oid heter, and the heter never returns. V'hi haisel nachla. Yerushalayim was the nachla. That's it. Final destination. Because of these two mishnahs, which indicate that we never go back to heter Abamis once we arrived at Yerushalayim. But Rabbi Yitzchak decided to go back on the halacha. No, he reverted. But in fact, as the Gemara, it's machlekes tanoim. It seems that this very question of whether Kedushas Yerushalayim still exists today, was still committed to Kedushas HaMikdash, is a machlekes tanoim. Tanoi. This not. Amr Belezer, Shamati, I heard from my Rabbi Yisai, when Yisrael returned to Yisrael in the time of Ezra, and they built the Heichal, Oisim Kloim LaHeichal. They set up these temporary curtains, these temporary barriers around the perimeter of the Makom HaHeichel. Ukloim Lazor, and likewise curtains around the Makom HaZorah. And then they erected the permanent walls. But there was one difference between Heichel and Azor. El Sheba Heichel Bainin Bachutz. But the Heichel, First they set up the curtains around the perimeter of the actual makom, which was meant to be heichal. But the workers stood outside those curtains and erected that wall outside the curtains to circle the curtains. They didn't actually work inside heichal proper. We wanted to keep them out of the heichal. So first we surrounded the heichal proper itself, the makom which was meant to be heichal, and then we put the walls outside those curtains, so the workers stood outside the makom hakadosh. Uba azora boinin mifnim. By the azora we didn't have this concern, therefore we did it the other way. We put the curtains outside the perimeter of the walls, of those potential walls that were going to be built, and we put the walls inside those curtains. So that was Rabbi Lezer's account of events. In both cases they had curtains, but by the heichel they were more careful. They knew the makom heichel, surrounded the area with curtains, and they built outside it. Rabbi Yeshua responded, no, they didn't have curtains. Shamati, I heard, shemakriv and afal b'shein bayis. You can be makriv karbanis in the Beis HaMikdash even without any structure, even before the walls were built. It seems from Rabbi Lezer, no, that they had to make those claim to enable hakrava, to enable kedushas Beis HaMikdash to be activated. Rabbi Shua disagrees. He says, no, shamati shemakriv na'af b'shein bayis. We don't need a bias to be makriv karbanis. You can be makriv karbanis without any structures, without any walls surrounding the area. Likewise, oichan kachim al b'shein klaim. You can have your kachim in the makom hamikdash even without any klaim. Kachim kal maser sheni, that can be eaten throughout Yerushalayim, al b'shein chama, even though there's no wall today. Because the initial kedusha that was applied to these areas is eternal. Kitchel Hashat was applied for the time being, but going forward, it's eternal. The Kitchel Hasad Love. It started then and never stopped. Therefore, we don't need curtains. Let them build at leisure as long as it takes. You don't have to surround the area with any curtains. It still has the same kedusha. It retains its original kedusha, whether it's the Heichal, the Azara, or even Yerushalayim. Oh, apparently, Mechlad Rabbi Lezer Savar, Rabbi Lezer, who's the opposing Shita, who described these curtains which were set up around the Heichal and the Azara, apparently, in order to activate kedusha, to give it a semblance of structure, to give it kedusha. He holds Mechlad Rabbi Lezer Savar, Lo Kitchel Asad Lavai. No, the original kedusha expired upon destruction of Mikdash. It was not an eternal kedusha. And that's why we have to quickly erect those kolaim to allow hakravas karbonis. So here's the machlekes Tanaim. Rabbi Lezer says savar that the original kedusha is not for all time. It has to be reactivated when Klal Yisrael come back and have to rebuild the Mishkan. Rabbi Shua says the original kedusha is permanent. How do you know that's pshat in the machlekes? Perhaps all agree. The original kedusha was kitchel hashata, was for then and for all time. The kitchel asad lavai, and you can be makriv in the mikdash even without walls. And in fact, you can't be makriv outside the mikdash. There's no heter of bamis because you're committed to the makom mikdash. It's synonymous. It goes together. If the Glushas HaMikdash is still present, that means you cannot be makriv in your private mizbeach. And perhaps all agree that that's the case. There is no machlekes Tanaim in this regard. And therefore, with Zman you can't be makriv in Beis Chanya outside the Makom HaMikdash. So what then is the machlekes? Between Rabbi Lezer discusses claim and Rabbi Shua does not. There's no fundamental conceptual machlekes here. It's just a question of how the events occurred. Umar, one man da Omar, one Tana, my Deshmiya Leik Omar, was simply relating what he heard. Umar, the other man da Omar, my Deshmiya Leik Omar, was simply relating his version of events. There's no fundamental machlekes here. All agree that Kedushas HaMikdash is ongoing. If that's the case, why did Rabbi Lezer speak about curtains. Let's new sibamo just to create that makom tznius for privacy, so that the workers don't peer into the makom of the heichal. That's all. But technically, halachically, you don't need curtains to activate the kedushas hamikdash, which was always there, which never left. Rather, it appears that this shaila of whether or not the kedushas hamikdash is permanent, is ongoing, or whether it expires during Churban, is kihane tanai. It is dependent on the following machlekes tanai, who were discussing a slightly different aspect of kedushas Eretz Yisrael. Kedushas arei batei arei chayma, those walled cities which have special characteristics, special halachas that apply to them. A walled city in Eretz Yisrael has special kedusha. You sell a house in a walled city, a special halachas. You can't redeem it past a year. A mitzvah is sent out of town. You read the Megillah on the 15th. All kinds of halachas that apply, that pertain to a walled city. The question is, after Yisrael went into Golus, they abandoned these cities. Do these cities still retain their earlier kedusha, earlier status, or not? Machlekes Tanai, which really revolves around this question of whether kedusha stays for all time, or perhaps it expires when events prompt expiration. Elegant Tanoi is dependent on following machlekes Tanai. This Sanya. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Lamuch manu chachamim eselu. Why is it that in the Mishnah in Erechen, when we're discussing the halachas of batei arei selling a house in a walled city, the Mishnah simply gives us a short list of just 9 cities in Eretz Yisrael that are walled. There are so many more than 9 cities in Eretz Yisrael that have a wall. The answer is Sheker she'olu b'nei Hagoyla. When Yisrael came up from Golus during Bayis Sheni, matzu es elu v'kitchim. They encountered these cities, and they applied new kedusha to them. There's a process in how to be mekadosh a city, and that's why they belong in the Mishnah. They have kedushas arei chaim, aval arishonos, batlu mishabat la'aretz. But the original cities, their kedusha expired. When the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael expired, when Yisrael went into Golus and abandoned Eretz Yisrael. Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is so tied with the Klal Yisrael. It's only there in Klal Yisrael, is present in Eretz Yisrael. So who's speaking? Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Kedusha of the cities depends on Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, depends on Klal Yisrael. Alma kasavar Kedusha Rishona Kedusha Lashata V'loi Kedusha Lasadlavi. Apparently he subscribes to the view that holds that the original Kedusha applied the first time when they came to Eretz Yisrael, at the time of Yeshua, was only for the time being. It was not for all time. And therefore, only 9 cities belong on this list. Those 9 cities which were reactivated, re-sanctified when they returned to Eretz Yisrael. V'na'aminu, we have a stira from another brisa, which seems to hold otherwise. Seems to hold that Kedusha remained, even when Yisrael were not there. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Why do we only mention 9 cities? Are these the only walled cities? We have a pasuk Shishim, Ir, Kol Vel Arga. If you have 60 cities, Uksiv Kol Eila are Betzuros Chemegavoya. Cities, or fortified, walled cities. So why only mention 9? Elalama Manu Chachamim Es Elo. Indeed, why did Chacham only mention these 9? Answer is Sheker she'olu b'nei Hagoyla. When Yisrael came up from Balvel, Matzu Elo v'Kitchim. They found these cities and they were makadosh these cities. Kitchen? What do you mean they were makadosh it? Hashta. Bach takes out Kitchen Hashta? They have to be makadosh it now. Ha'amri l'kamon l'tzrich l'kdushi. Take a look at the brisa. Next part of the brisa. It's pretty clear. You don't have to reactivate the kedusha on these cities. They retain their original status. So what do you mean they were makadosh these cities? Ela matzuos ilu umanum. You're right. All cities were kaddish. They never lost their kedusha. It so happens that they encountered these cities and put them on a list. It was a short list of cities. It doesn't have much significance. In fact, not only these cities are considered walled cities, Any city that you happen to have a Messiah from your Avos, that indeed it's a walled city from the time of Yeshua, all mitzvahs pertaining to a walled city will apply to that city as well. Why? Because the initial Kedusha, which was activated at the time of the initial entry to Eretz Yisrael, during the days of Yeshua, Kitchel Ashata was applied for that time, the Kitchel Asad and applied for all time. This Tana holds it's permanent. Kedusha of the Arichaima, Kedusha of Yerushalayim, Beis HaMikdash is permanent, never expired. The first Tana holds no. You have to reactivate the Kedusha. It's not automatic. So this is the Machlekes Tanaim that we're looking for. Then when it would be regarding Makar Recover nowadays. If you hold that it still has Kedusha, Beis HaMikdash, Yerushalayim, we're still committed to that Kedusha, you can't bring a carbon in your own private bum. But if you hold that the Kedusha expired, you're free to do what you want. You can use your own private bum. One problem is, Kashid Rabbi Shmuel. Because take a look, both prices are Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. How could they both be holding different things? It's the same under Amar. Today Tanoi, I'll leave with the Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. In fact, there are two Tanoim quoting Rabbi Shmuel, two versions of Rabbi Shmuel. According to one version, he holds Kedusha expired. The other version holds that Kedusha still exists. The second Bryce, which maintains that Kedusha is still there, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yossi Amra. It's not Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, it's Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yossi, the Sanya, as we find that his opinion is indeed as such. We find it in another Bryce. Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yossi Amar, Asher Lo Yechayma, we sell a house in a walled city, and the spelling is Lamed Aleph, which sounds like it doesn't have. Lo Yechayim doesn't have a wall. Even though currently the city is not a walled city, it's after Churban, doesn't matter. But you know for a fact that it had been a walled city initially. The city still maintains its walled city status because the Kedusha never expires. So bottom line is, we have Machlekes Tanaim, whether Kedusha Rishona, the initial Kedusha applied to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim, Beis HaMikdash, walled cities, is there for all time, or is it dependent upon Klal Yisrael being around, Mikdash being built? But if the Mikdash is destroyed, the Kedusha expires. After Yisrael left Eretz Yisrael, the Kedusha expires. Pertaining to Truma, to Maser, the walled cities don't have a din of walled cities. It's a Machlekes Tanaim. The Rambam paskins, like the Shita, the Kedusha Rishona is La'asad Lavi. It's always here. And therefore, you can't bring a carbon on a bama. You have to be makriv in the Beis HaMikdash. There's a big tumult amongst many poskim regarding Bizman Hazeh. We paskin, the Kedusha is there. You can't be makriv in a bama. You have to be makriv, and you can be makriv in the Beis HaMikdash, even though there's no wall. Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, there's no structure. The Kedusha still exists, and the Rambam explains. Kedusha's Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim is rooted in the Shechina's presence. And Shechina, says the Rambam, never expires, never leaves. It's an ever-present phenomenon. Therefore, he says, Kedusha's Beis HaMikdash is still there today. So the poskim ask, why don't we bring karbanis today? So the truth is, the Chassam Sofer writes to a letter to his father-in-law, Kiva Eger. He advocates for bringing karbanis b'zman hazeh. We take a kohen, even though he's tummy, tuma hutru b'tzibur, and we can bring a carbon in the Malkim HaMikdash. But he writes that the Ishmaelim will give us a hard time, and it's not going to be practical. But halachically, theoretically, you can bring a carbon b'zman hazeh. Kedushas Yerushalayim, Kedushas HaMikdash is eternal. In fact, the Hamek Dover writes in Vayikra Chafav Lamed Aleph. He says, if you look through the Gemara, the Chazal, it seems very clear. The Gemara in Sanhedrin speaks about it that they had the Korban Pesach even after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. He says up until the Churban Beita, which was 52 years later, they will still bring the Korban Pesach year after year. There was no structure, there was no Mikdash. Makrivin Avu B'Shein Bayis. L'maisa, many poskim hold that it's problematic. For example, a kohen has to wear bigdei kehuna. We don't really have the we don't know the true identity of tchelas bisman hazeh. So a kohen can't have his tchelas in his bigdei kehuna. The kohen gadol for sure not. He needs tchelas, and even the kohen headed, according to some shittas, will have tchelas in his belt. So lots of issues, lots of difficulties, things in the barriers in the way of going back to the Mikdash and actually being makar of karbanos nowadays. One more thing, the Rambam says that when it comes to Trumas and Masros, so the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, regarding Trumas and Masros, even though that did expire when Klal Yisrael went to Golus, Bavel, but that was reintroduced, that was reactivated. The Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael was reactivated in the time of Ezra, and that Kedusha, says the Rambam, is eternal. So when it comes to the Kedushas Eretz Yisrael from the first time of Yeshua, that expired, but it was reactivated by Ezra, and that stays even nowadays. But when it comes to Kedushas HaMikdash, it's a Chiddush. He says the original Kedusha never left, because that's Shechina related, and Shechina never expires. Continues the Gemara. Back to the Megillah. Vahi b'mei Achashverosh. Amar b'Levi v'itema, some say Rabbi Yehuda. Davar zeh, the following lesson, Mesoiris b'yadeinu ma'anshei Knesset Agdela. We know it. It was handed down to us all the way from the Anshei Knesset Agdela, which is Kol Mokim Shenemar Vayihi. If you look at the Psukim, whenever we find the term, the phrase Vayihi, it's negative. Einli ela lashon tsar. It's reflective of something tsar, some tsara, some negative event. For instance, Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh. Look, we had a tsara from Haman, Hava Haman. Vayihi b'mei Shvot HaShoftim. Havara was a time of famine. So lashon Vayihi is like hi, woe. It denotes tsar and tragedy. Vayihi ki heichel adam loriv. This was before the Mabul, when people began to multiply. What does it say afterwards? Vayar Hashem ki rab rasa adam. Hashem noticed all the ra that they would do. Vayihi b'nosam mikedem. This was by the Dor HaFlaga. Again, Vayihi lashon tsar. It brought tragedy. Hava nivla lanu ir. They decided to build a tower to challenge Hashem. You have the pasuk Vayihi b'mei Amrafel. What happened then? Osam Mulchama. They started battling each other, and Avraham Avinu had to get involved. We have the pasuk Vayihi b'Yos Yeshua b'Richai. Again, Vayihi is lashon tsar. It was a precursor for a tsar event. When the Malach came and criticized him, wanted to punish him. Look, you Vatal Torah, you Mr. Talmud, as we had a few days ago on that Gimel. We have the pasuk where Yeshua conquered Yericho. Vayihi Hashem es Yeshua. What happened there? Vayimalu b'nei Yisrael. Amongst b'nei Yisrael, Achan, he was the one who deviated. He took from the loot of Yericho against the cherem that Yeshua established. We have the pasuk Vayihi ish echad min Aramasayim. This was describing the father of Shmuel. What does it say afterwards? Ki es Chana oiv Hashem saga rachma. Chana was barren. We have the pasuk Vayihi ki zaken Shmuel. And what happened there? V'lo yholchu banav b'drach of his own children didn't follow in his footsteps. We have the pasuk Vayihi David l'chol drach of maskel Hashem imoy. But then it says Vayihi Shaul oyin is David. Shaul had a dislike for David. We have the pasuk Vayihi ki yashav melech b'beisei. David was established. He wanted to build a Beis Hamikdash. What does it say? No, you won't do it. Rakata loisev na'bayis. Asks the Gemara, is that so? Every Vayihi represents tsar and sarah? What about the pasuk Vayihi b'yom hashmini? A great day. Day when the Mishkan was finally completed. There was a Chanukas HaMizbeach, Chanukas HaMishkan, V'tanya, Oisa HaYoim, Oisa Simcha F'nekadosh Baruch Hu. That day, the 8th day of Miluim, was the greatest day. Hayom Simcha, K'yom Shenivru, B'Yishmayim V'aretz, equated to the day of the creation. B'rias Shemayim V'aretz. Ksiv Ha'cha Vayihi b'yom hashmini. Over here it says Vayihi b'yom hashmini. Ksiv Ha'sam, by B'rias Olam, Vayihi Yom Echad. A time of great joy. It was a sort of a creation, recreating the world anew. The Medrash says we have Bria Sa'ilam way back, and we have Kamas HaMishkan, which is like a Bria Shni, a Bria Chadasha. Hashem recreated the world. He brought down His Shekhinah to rest in this world. A new dimension, a new entity, a new creation. How can you say Vayihi is a lashon of Tsar? It says more. The bottom line is they experienced tragedy on that day. Hashachiv Nadav Avihu. Nadav Avihu passed away on that day. What about the next pasuk? Like Ksiv Vayi b'shmanim shana v'arba meis shana, when Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis Hamikdash. V'ksiv Vayi kasher ro Yaakov es Rachel. Nothing tragic there. V'ksiv Vayi erev Vayi v'yikri yom echad v'yi kasheni v'yi kashlishi. The pasuk of Vayi erev repeats itself again on the second day of creation, again on the third, etc. V'yi katuva, many more throughout the 6 days of creation. How can you say Vayihi is something negative? Amar of Ashi, let's revise this a bit. Kol Vayihi, the lashon Vayihi, ikahachi v'ikachi. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes negative. But the words Vayihi b'imei, einoi ela lashon tsar. Marsha explains, because it could have just said b'imei. The extra word Vayihi, that's a riboy. And over there it represents tsar, Vayi, hey. In fact, we find them 5 times. Chamisha Vayihi b'imei havu. We have 5 Vayihi b'imeis. Vayihi b'imei Achashverosh. And we know what happened there. It's Haman. Vayihi b'imei Shveit HaShoiftim, time of famine. Vayihi b'imei Amrafel, time of war. Vayihi b'imei Achaz, also time of war with the Goyim. Vayihi b'imei Yoyakim. This was the starting point of Galus. Continues the Gemara. V'amar b'levi, davar zeh, the following thing, is also Mesoris b'yodedim aviseinu, was handed down from our office. That Amitz v'Amatzia achem havu. These 2 people, Amitz, father of Yishayahu ben Amitz, and Amatzia, who was a Melech Yehuda, they were actually brothers. Micah Mashwan, what's the point of knowing this? To teach us a lesson. Hiha is going to be a support, a raya. The Amar Shmuel ben Achmeni Amar Yenisem. Kol Kala, any daughter-in-law, she eats snow beveis chamir, that is careful and conducts itself with modesty, even though she's a celebrity. In her in-laws' home, she's tzanua. Zoiche v'yoytzin mimena malachim and avim. She's zoiche that malachim and avim come out from her. Says the Sifsei Chacham, mida connected mida. She's a celebrity in her in-laws' home, and she tones down. She conducts herself low-key, b'tznius. She's zoiche to produce great leaders, men of high profile, malachim and avim. How do we know this? Minalan, mi Tamar. We find this by Tamar. Yehuda noticed her, took her for an immoral woman, because she covered her face. Is that a reason to consider her a zaina? Mishum de just because she covered her face, considers her a zaina. Just the opposite. Zaina tries to display herself. So why is this a reason? Ella, rather, the pasuk means like this: Mishum de beis chamia. Since when Tamar was mechasa paneh, she conducted herself with utmost tznius when she was living in her father-in-law's home, in Yehuda's home, and therefore he didn't really recognize her. When he noticed her on the road, it didn't ring a bell, because when she lived it by him, when she visited him, she didn't expose herself, and he couldn't recognize her. So that's why he thought she's a zaina. So because of that extreme tznius, she was zeicha to produce malachim and avim. How do we know? Malachim is David, right? David was her descendant. Nevi'im, what do we find that? Amar Levi, Mesoros b'yadein ma'avasei. We have this Mesorah that Amitz, who was the father of Yishayahu ben Amitz, ve'Amatzia, who was a Melech Yehuda and a descendant of Tamar, descendant of Peretz, descendant of Tamar, Achem Havidu, brothers. Uksiv Chazon Yishayahu ben Amitz. So we see clearly that Tamar was zeicha, the descendants who were Malachim, Amatzia, David, right? And Nevi, Yishayahu ben Amitz, who was Amatzia's brother. It's interesting, actually, David and Shlomo were also her descendants, and they were also Nevi'im. First, say apparently they weren't such high-profile Nevi'im compared to Yeshayahu, who was a known Navi, who was sent publicly to relay messages, etc. So that's the Chiddush that she had Yeshayahu as a descendant. V'amar of Levi, another lesson from the same Adamar. Davar said the following thing: Meseres b'yadeinu Avseinu was handed down from our Avos. Makam Aron einim namidim. The Aron never took space, never took up any floor space in the Beis Hamikdash. It was a miraculous phenomenon. Tana mihachu, we have the same in a Bryce. Aron she'asam Moshe yesh lei eser amos l'chol ruach. We knew this b'Kabbalah, that if you would measure from the Aron to the wall, you find a space of 10 amos. From this side of the Aron to this wall is 10 amos. On the other side of the Aron to the wall is 10 amos. How big was the room? Uksiv l'fnei advir. Dvir was the dividing wall between Kodesh and Kodesh Kodashim. L'fnei advir, the room beyond this divider, meaning the Kodesh Kodashim, was how big? Esrim amma oirech. There's a gear that adds the Esrim amma roicha was 20 by 20. The entire area was just 20 by 20. So if you measure 10 amas from the Aron to either wall, where was the Aron standing? Uksiv, there's another pasuk. Knaf hakruv ha'echad eser ames. Uknaf hakruv ha'echad eser ames. The wingspan of the kruvim were 10 ames each. So I'll actually take out this pasuk because perhaps the wings were above the Aron. In any case, we knew this by Kabbalah, that the Aron gufay hechavakoi. So where was the Aron itself? So floor space on either side was 10 here and 10 here. The whole room was just 20. Where was the Aron standing? It's pretty clear the Nes was keeping the Aron in place. It was a miraculous phenomenon. Didn't take up any space. It was l'mal min hamokim. Continues the Gemara. Back to Megillah Esther. Rabbi Yonasan pasach la pischa lai parshas hamihacha. Explains Rashi, in the left column of Rashi, the fourth line from the top. Pasach la pischa lai parshas hamihacha. When Rabbi Yonasan wanted to start discussing Megillah Esther, he writes a lidrosh b'inyan igeras purim, hoyimascha lidrosh mikruzeh. He would introduce his Megillah Esther discussion with the following pasuk, which capsulized, which packaged the whole Purim event in a nutshell. He would introduce the theme of Purim using the following pasuk. Hashem says, eventually I'm going to destroy Bavel. I will remove, cut off from Bavel. Shem, She'er, V'nin, V'nechet. No Hashem. What is this? Shem Zaksav. They won't have their own alphabet. She'er is a Lashon. They won't have their own language. Tesis asks, what do you mean they have Aramaic? So some of Farshim say, Tesis Rid says, it's not a nice language that people like to emulate. Like English is a universal language. Aramaic is not really too used. Others say that they sort of borrowed, they siphoned their language from other languages. In any case, they all have that importance, that chashivas, their own language, their own alphabet. I will remove a nin. What is nin? Zeh malchus, lashon of royalty. Rashi says, mem shalom. I'm going to destroy their malchus. V'neched, the grandson, descendant, zu Vashti. Referring to Vashti, who was killed at the time of Purim, and she was the last remaining granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. That's it. It's over. Rabbi Shmuel Rachmeni pasach la pischa lai parshas hamiyacha. He opened up the topic using the following pasuk. This was his introduction to the Purim discussion. Pasuk says, "Tachas hanatzos yala v'rosh, v'tachas hasirpad yala hadas." What does this mean? Tachas hanatzos. Instead of the natzos, which is tachas Haman HaRasha, referring to Haman HaRasha, she'asa atzma v'dezara, who presented himself as a Rabbi Dezara, chsiv v'chol natzutzim v'chol nanlulim. Marsha says natzutzim is the lashon of a thorn. So the natzutz is the Avodah, a thorny thing, which Haman purported to be He made himself a Avodah. Instead of the Natzutz, Ya'alav V'rosh. In his place, a V'rosh will come up. What's that? It's a Mordechai. Why was Mordechai called V'rosh? V'rosh is a leader. Top of the list, the most important member of the Chachamim. Shenikra Rosh L'Absamim is considered the finest amongst all the fragrances, which means he was the greatest Chacham, greatest Tzaddik. Shenamar Va'ata Kachalcha B'Samim Rosh. We find that Mordechai's name is alluded to in that list of B'Samim used in the Mishkan to make the Shemen HaMishcha, to make the Ketores. Va'ata Kachalcha B'Samim Rosh. And the pasuk starts off with Mordechai. Right? And this Mordechai is the top of the list. And the Targum says Mordechai means Marei Dichi. Dichi is pure fragrance. So Marei Dichi sounds very similar to Mordechai. There's a remez in the Torah that Mordechai is the Rosh HaBsamim, most important fragrance, most precious. B'samim, the Rosh of the Chachamim. So that's what the pasuk means. Tachas hanatzitz, in the place of Haman, presented himself as an Avodah Zarah, a thorn bush. Ya'alav Rosh. Who's going to come in his stead? Mordechai, the Rosh HaBsamim. The pasuk continues. Tachas hasirbad yalahadas. What is that? Sirbad is Vashti. Tachas Vashti Harisha. She was Vashti Risha Bas Bnei Shel Nechanetzar Rasha, granddaughter of Nechanetzar Rasha Shesara Refidas Beis Hashem, who burned the resting place of Hashem. Hashem Shechina rested on the Zav of the Kapiris. He destroyed that. So instead of Vashti, who was a carryover of Nebuchadnezzar, Yala Hadas, who comes in her stead? Hadas. So Esther Tzadekis. Shenikras Hadassah is called a Hadassah, like a Hadas that smells good. Mordechai took care of Esther, who was called Hadassah. The pasuk continues, V'hoyel Hashem l'Shem, that the Purim event, the Purim story, will bring about a praising of Hashem's name. Zu Mikra Megillah, won't read the Megillah. The Maharsha points out, even though we don't have Hashem's name mentioned in the Megillah, the time of Hester, everything was done there Chateva, so to speak. We don't have Hashem's name in the Megillah, but nevertheless, reading the Megillah, celebrating Purim, certainly brings out and highlights and demonstrates and publicizes Hashem's power. V'hoyel Hashem l'Shem, zu Mikra Megillah. What does that mean? Elohim Purim. The Yom Tov of Purim is eternal. In fact, there's a medrash in Mishlei. All the Yom Tovim asidin lebatel except for Purim. It's eternal. Continues the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon Levi pasach la pischalai parshasa mehacha. So every Amor, every Tana had his own unique way of introducing the topic of Megillas Esther. Rabbi Shimon Levi's introduction was based on the following pasuk: V'hoya kasher sas Hashem aleichem, leitiv eschem. Just like Hashem is excited to do good to Klal Yisrael when we behave, likewise, unfortunately, kein yoses lahara eschem. Hashem will be motivated to chas v'shalom bring punishment upon Klal Yisrael when they're deserving of punishment. Asks the Gemara, how can you say that? Is Hashem joyous and excited to experience the downfall of Rishayim? It needs to be done. It doesn't bring joy to Hashem. We have a pasuk. By Yeshafat, when he went out to wage war with the Amonim, he said, thank Hashem for helping us. But we find something strange. There's a word missing in this pasuk. We don't find the word kitayv in this praise. You know why? After all, Goyim were being destroyed. Hashem is not happy. Even when Rishayim experienced downfall. As Rabbi Yechon himself explained, what does the pasuk mean? Throughout the night when Yisrael were passing through the Yamsuf, Drasha is, it's referring to the Malachim. Bikshu Malachi Asheris Limashira. The Malachim wanted to praise Hashem, to sing upon experiencing this miracle. The Nes Kriyas Yamsuf. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no, hold up. Maaseh Yadai Tevim Bayam, my handiwork. Human beings are drowning. Va'atem Ayim Shira, you're going to express Shira. I have to do it. but it's not a time for singing and joy. So getting back to our pasuk, I could say, Ken Yosis Laura Eschem, Hashem will be happy to bring Ra and Klal Yisrael. Omer Belazar, you're right. Who Einoi Sus? Hashem himself, personally, Kaviyachal, is not in a state of joy. Aval Acher Mesis, but it means to say that he instigates others, he gets the Rishonim to fight against us when Chas Hashem Klal Yisrael are deserving of Einish. Suddenly they're gripped with an inexplainable urge to just fight Klal Yisrael. Totally beyond reason and logic. Why is it? Hashem is spurring them on to bring us to tshuva, etc. They're going to kill themselves because Hashem is sending them for our good. So who says Hashem himself is not happy about it, but he gets others turned on and excited to do what they have to do. In fact, the wording of the pasuk indicates as such that it's not referring to Hashem. The chsiv kein yosus. Like chsiv yosus, shmamino. It doesn't say Hashem is yosus, he will be happy. No, he's not happy. Even when the Mitzrayim were drowned, he wasn't happy. Kal v'chomer and Klal Yisrael is suffering. But unfortunately, sometimes that has to happen. Yosus. He will get others into it and send them to do their shlichus. Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana, he had his unique way of introducing Megillah Esther. Pasach la Pischa, his opening statement, his introduction, like parshas to this topic of Megillah Esther, of the Purim story, was Mehacha, by way of the following pasuk. Pasuk in Kayelis. La'adam shatev l'fanav. To a person who finds favor in Hashem's eyes, Nasan chachma v'das v'simcha. He implants wisdom, simcha. Zemardechai tzaddik. Mordechai was full of chachma. He brought about simcha's Purim. Ulachayte, as opposed to the sinner, Nasan inyan. Hashem puts in his heart a desire, a quest, less for lichnes, to gather, to hoard, to collect treasures, which eventually gets channeled to the tzaddik. He does the work and we reap the benefits. Who's that? It's a Haman. He put together a fortune. Where did it end up? Losses, which will be transferred to the one who finds favor in Hashem's eyes. It's a Mordechai Esther. They eventually inherited his possessions. Esther es Mordechai al Beis Haman. Esther put Mordechai in charge of Beis Haman. He inherited his estate. Finally, Rabbi Bar Ufran, he had another way of introducing the topic, using the following pasuk. V'samti kisi be'elam. When Klal Yisrael goes into Golus, into Elam, into Bavel, I will place my throne there as well. Hashem Shechina follows us wherever we go. I will remove Melech V'Sarim. It's referring to the story of Purim. Rashi says Shushan Abir was in a place called Elam. So this event took place there. What happened? Havanti Sham Misham Melech V'Sarim. I'll remove Melech V'Sarim. Melech Zu Vashti. She was a descendant of Nebuchadnezzar, Russia, and she herself was a queen. Melech Zu Vashti. V'Sarim, I will destroy the Sarim. Who's that? Haman and his 10 children. Vasera Esbanav. Okay, so what do we learn today? We contrasted Kedushas Shiloi with Kedushas Yerushalayim. Two differences regarding the Malka Machilas Kachem Kalim. By Shiloi it was B'chol Aroya. As long as it's within range, you can have eye contact with the Mishkan. That's an association that allows you to eat Kachem Kalim. Yerushalayim had to be within the city. Kachem, both cases are the same. L'fnim and Akloim within the confines of the structure. Whether Kedusha Rishona, Beis HaMikdash, Yerushalayim, or the cities in Eretz Yisrael that happened way back when, do we say it's eternal, or does it expire upon Churban, or in Klal Yisrael going to Golus? We discussed that Vahi Bimei is a Lashon Tsar. Tamar's Tznius earned her Malachim and Avim. Concluded with various introductions, various psukim that were used to introduce the concept of the Purim story. B'suras Tovos and Hatzlacha Rabbatia.